Hello and welcome to a tutorial for GreyHack. In this video I'll be showing you how to set up a machine for using exploits, recon a target for determining what exploit you may want to use, showcase finding and using an exploit at that correct version against the target. This tutorial does assume that you know how to start the game, get onto your network through Wi-Fi cracking, and you are ready to get hacking on a remote target. You could have come across this target, for example, through a contract, or just randomly coming across a target for fun. It's also important to know that sometimes networks are unhackable, and at the time of attempting the hack, but you can always try again later, depending on how many users are online, depending on the requirements of the hack. So for part one, the first step is knowing about your target. If it's from a contract, you only either know the domain name, which is the URL, or you might know the IP address. If you need to resolve the IP address from a domain, then the command you would use is nslookup. If you have a domain name, you can use this command here. This is the command you'd use, nslookup, and then the URL. That didn't work because that wasn't the URL, but you'd get an IP address like this, an IPv4 address. Once you have the IP address, you need to make a note of it, and we are now ready our machine. Right, so before we can begin recon, we first need to make sure we have the correct library files on our attack machine. The files you need are metaexploit.so and crypto.so. The latest version you can find and place them in the lib directory. If you don't have these files, then you go to the Hackshop from the email you got earlier, download those files from the Tools tab. Once downloaded, make sure they're in the lib directory, so I'll just quickly show you that. Browser. This is one of the Hackshop's tools. Take a look. You want this file, metaexploit.so, it's at 8 at the moment, and crypto, 1.0.6 at the moment, but your versions will be different depending on how long you play in the game, whether or not you're playing multiplayer, that kind of thing. And then you put them into the lib directory. So we take a look. We have metaexploit there and crypto there. That's what you want. Once you have the library files, the next thing you'll need to do is get some tools. So if we go to the Hackshop and go to tools, we want admin monitor. So go ahead and download this, and we want decipher. Go ahead and download that. You can take a scanlib and scanrouter as well. And what you want to do is put them in the bin folder. So if we go to our file explorer again, you want to put them in this folder right here, /bin. Once you have the tools that you need, you then need to go to your browser. You need to type in shop. You can find any shop, doesn't matter, there we go. And then you go to the shop tab, and you want to download Nmap, this tool here. And when you download it, you put it once again in the bin folder, in this folder here, /bin. Now that you have everything that you need, the next thing we need to do is get some information on this target. So the tool that you can use is Nmap, now that it's installed into bin. So we do Nmap, and then the IP address, my IP address in this case, is there. And when you run Nmap against an IP address, Nmap space IP, you'll get some ports returned alongside the services that it uses and the version it uses and the LAN address forwarding it. And at this point, you need to decide what you want to use. In my case, I think I'll go for SSH. So, sorry, not SSH. I'll go for HTTP at 1.0.0, which 192.168.0.3 is forwarding at version 1. And what we do with this is we go to the browser. We make a note of the version. We don't have to clear it. There we go. Go to the Hackshop. Then we go to exploits, and we can look up lib for library, and then HTTP, so that's the service we want to try and exploit. And we type in 1.0.0 because that's the version it's running at, and search. So I already have my own custom exploit. I'm going to show you searching for one now. So what we want to do is we want to click on all of these and see what we want and the requirements. So this exploit for HTTP1 searches all the bank credentials on the computer to decipher all passwords, so bank passwords. But requirements is that you have the library net.so on the target machine in their .lib folder at 1.0.0 and that the root user's logged in. So you want to try and find one that works. I'll just skip through that now. Okay, so there looks to be a good exploit here. I have an injection exploit for getting the root password, but I'm going to take this one, and it would inject it into a registered user. So what you do is you can download the source code, or you can just buy the thing compiled. And put it there. It's downloaded. There it is, TerraScript. So if I use code editor, TerraScript, you press this button here, you can compile the program. We'll call it HTTP inject. Now this program injects a password into a user. It doesn't necessarily get you access, but I'm just showing you how to use an exploit in the first place. You might want to go for a shell object if you can. So if it says it will gain you a shell. So HTTP inject and the IP address port 80, and the new password will be hello and success. So now we can see that the password for the user Tony is now hello. This doesn't really help our situation from the outside, but if we ever gained access, then we would be able to log in as Tony, now that we know that his password is hello. A better idea might be looking for an SSH one. Cool, that would probably work. Just gonna take that. Call it SSH shell. What was it? 1.0.1. Nice. Now we have a shell by the looks of it. Now before you use an exploit to get a shell, you want to really use admin monitor. So we're going to run that, admin monitor.exe, and then I'm going to use ssh.cd. And that on port 22. Yay! Now we have a shell. So we searched for an SSH exploit in the Hackshop and we found a shell. So then from here you've successfully gained a guest shell. Oh no, a user shell. We are as user. So let's check the permissions for. If you want to try and escalate, the best common way is to check the permissions for the password. Yay, there it is. So we could easily copy and paste that, or we can download the file. I'm just going to copy and paste it. Open Notepad, paste it in there, save it. Yeah, we'll save it there. We'll call it root.txt. I want to use, oops, clear. Decipher root.txt. It's going to quickly give me the password. So what I did just there is I did cat etc password to print out the hash now that I have access to it and the permissions aren't locked. And to escalate I do sudo /s and the password, which is treeview. Cool, now I'm root. The next thing I want to do is go into log viewer and delete only shell obtained. There we go, now I root on a system using pre-bought exploits. So just to do that again, we looked up, we used nmap against the IP address, came up with SSH 1.0.1. We found that on the hack store at 1.0.1, gave us a shell. Now we have root access on 192.168.0.4 local on the public address. So let's take a look around the system. ls/home/k/config. See, there's a bank text file in there that will contain a bank hash. Let's do cat/bank.txt. Copy, add, paste. We'll call it bank. Close. Decipher bank.txt. And there we have it. That is the bank account right there. You can then log into the bank and transfer it. And that is how you look up an exploit on a target, ready your machine, and hack into a target using a correct service version exploit.